Hi, I'm Norah O'Donnell, and this is Person to Person. Tonight, our guests are the ensemble of the fan-favorite hit comedy, Ted Lasso.
It's award season in Hollywood, and nearly sweeping the comedy TV category for a second year in a row is the cast of Ted Lasso.
That way is the Lasso way.
The streaming phenomenon was co-created by Jason Sudeikis, who plays the title character. Ted Lasso is an American football coach from Kansas who moves to the UK to manage an English soccer team.
Well, that's a heaping spoonful of truth soup right there.
Sudeikis told us the show, which streams on Apple TV Plus, is not about soccer, it's about kindness and being a work in progress.
Diagnose my tears and then what?
The cast just won the prestigious Screen Actors Guild Award for Best Comedy Series Ensemble. And ahead, you'll hear from some of the show's biggest stars, like Brett Goldstein.
Check on your teammate.
The actor who plays rough around the edges but lovable soccer star Roy Kent. We go to a soccer match in London with Brendan Hunt, who plays Coach Beard, and Toheeb Jamo and Kola Bokini, who portray AFC Richmond star players Sam Obisanya and Captain Isaac McAdoo. But we start our intimate conversations with Hannah Waddingham, the powerhouse who plays boss and team owner Rebecca Welton.
So what did you think when you first saw the script for Ted Lasso?
I thought whoever gets this, it's going to change their lives, honestly. I really did. And that's why I didn't think I'd get it. Because those things that you dream of and you look at and you just think, this has a world of potential for a woman of this age. You know, within one sentence, it can be heartbreaking and hilarious. Mm-hmm. And I just thought there's just no chance.
You said to Jason Sudeikis, you said, you changed my life.
Yeah, he has.
And your daughter's life.
He has, more importantly, her life. Because I've been a single mother since she was 2.5. She and I are thick as thieves, and she's my best little friend in the whole world. And now I can absolutely give her everything that I could have ever dreamt of in life. Whereas I'd always been a jobbing actor and desperately going, please give me something that I can get my teeth into. He's given me that.
What is so distinct about Rebecca Welton?
She is 100% real and very much trying to hide that. She's been brought up to hide everything and then fell into a marriage where she thought she wasn't worthy of standing on her own 2 feet, being powerful in her own right.
You play a female boss of a Premier League club. I mean, that's pretty rare.
A struggling Premier League club, yeah.
But you're a badass boss.
She's a boss-ass bitch, man.
Tough, and yet extremely vulnerable.
Tough because she's vulnerable, though. And that's the biggest thing that I wanted to play. You have to look at the slaps around her face that she has had previously at the hands of men. And that wall has come up. That is why I make sure that every single element of her clothing is absolutely, I mean, I drive the costume department mental, and the hair department, and the makeup department, because the more of a shield and a barrier that Rebecca has speaks to me more about the fragility behind it.
That's why she always looks so perfectly put together.
Immaculate. So that nobody will think there's anything wrong. But the clothing, you know, gives her the armor.
So when we first meet Rebecca, she's vengeful.
Yeah.
She wants to destroy her ex-husband's club.
Yes, she's vengeful, but she's flailing in every way, shape, or form, from the tip of her head to the tip of her toes. And then there was the immediate visceral response I had to her of, no, she's not vengeful, she's lost. It's just, I don't know, what can I do to get back? It's that in her soul, but outside, she's, you know, she's got the club in the divorce settlement. She's absolutely steely. She's going to bring this guy over. She knows he has no clue about football, and she thinks this will be the quickest path to Rupert being as miserable as she is. You slap me round the face, I'm going to slap you round your other cheek harder, Rupert, because you've ripped my heart out and smashed it on the floor.
She hires the bumbling football coach from Kansas, Ted Lasso.
And she thinks it's done. She sees these YouTube clips of him and thinks that is the quickest way to destroy it, thinking I need to find something to heal my pain and heal it quickly. And so she sees what she thinks is this bumbling kind of puppet and thinks, that's it, job done. And it brings out something in her. So I wanted people to see throughout the whole series that she is at odds with herself about it.
My arm started getting...
I love her. I love my character. I love her like serving a friend. And I hope that the writers' room who are, squirreling their heads together at the moment, I always just hope that they will serve my pal.
And serve her how?
I never want it to be an obvious route, because I love that, for a start, they've got someone who's 6'2" in heels playing her, which I've never had in my life. Someone to trust that you can put me, like that was Jason going, no, she doesn't need to be in a little kitten heel or pumps. She can give her whatever height heel she wants. And I was like, are we okay with 4-inch Christian Louboutins? Because I wanted there to be, the ice queen that needed to thaw in every way.
The ice queen that needed to thaw.
Yeah. So I love the fact that he was like, no, you make her who you want her to be.
What makes this cast so incredibly special?
Well, one, we are nauseatingly happy together. I mean, really like the Brady Bunch. Two, I think they cast it so well because people weren't stars, really. I mean, Juno, obviously, and Jason. But all of us are what I would say actors rather than stars. And I'm perfectly happy to stay that way, because I think you give of yourself more in a way, because you don't want it to be about any one person.
That sign that's above the coach's office, believe.
Yeah. I believed, and this is why I talk about manifestation, I believed that there was something that would be a great vehicle for me. And that's what I mean about when I looked at that script at first, I was so sad because I had been used to rejection. And I thought, if only someone would let me get my teeth into this, I know I will serve it.
But it has exceeded expectations, for sure.
It is life-changing for all of us. And the fact that it's something that, at its very essence, is about believing and the greater good and holding each other up, it's a little bit life-imitating art with us as a collective.
And when we come back, we're going to head to a pub with Brett Goldstein to talk about his rough but oh so lovable character, Roy Kent.
You all played like a bunch of little pricks! You hear me?
Yes, Coach!
Brett Goldstein, what a pleasure.
What a pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Who is Roy Kent?
He is a cauldron of emotion that he doesn't want anyone to know about, who has been raised in a culture of almost toxic masculinity. He has been raised from very, very young in football academies is to be a wall, and he has all these feelings and these emotions, but he cannot express them all, and he has to keep them pent up, which is why he talks like he talks, because he's holding it all in. And through the show, through Ted Lasso and through Keeley, this sort of iceberg has chipped away a bit, and some of it is coming out.
Do you think that's one of the themes of the show?
I think the show is about masculinity a lot. You know, football's interesting. I think it's changing a lot. I think it's already changed in the last 5 years, I'd say. The culture has changed a lot. In England, certainly, I don't know what it's like here, but in England it's religion, and it's also how men communicate. And like, I joke about it, but I also really mean it, is that me and my dad, how we communicate is talking about football. He'll call me, tell me about the football. That's all we talk about. But what we're saying is, I love you. But we're not saying I love you, we're saying, tell me about the game. And he'll tell me about the game, you know what I mean? And that, I think, is true of probably a lot of people, particularly in the UK.
That's how men communicate.
That's how men communicate. And I think men can't talk to each other looking in each other's eyes. So if a father and son or two men go to a game, they can express their emotions outward, and they can shout and they can scream, they can get stuff out, and they can talk about stuff, but they don't have to have the intensity of looking at each other. And I think that is a function that sports serves.
How would you describe Roy Kent, the footballer?
He's a midfielder, he's a captain, he's called a box-to-box player. His job is get the ball, get it out, get it up the field, make sure no one gets past him. He's an enforcer.
Until he gets injured and can't play anymore.
Yeah. Roy Kent, his whole plan was play football until you die. And in the beginning of season 1, he is aware he probably only has 1 or 2 seasons left in him. And I think he's profoundly in a dark place at the beginning because he cannot see beyond that. Beyond that is death. Let's put it that way.
And what saves Roy Kent?
Well, it's a bit of Ted Lasso and a lot of Keeley. You know, Roy's used to being with women who leave and steal his watch and then probably do a kiss and tell story in the paper the next day. And then it is the beginning of a scary relationship because they're both like very tentatively trying to trust each other.
I like being Roy Kent. I don't know if I can handle just being some loser has-been called Roy.
The heart of their, initial attraction to one another is that they find that one another is accountable, and they've never experienced that in a relationship.
Yeah. And I don't think they've experienced it in life.
Emotionally accountable.
Yeah.
Why did Roy Kent feel like a calling for you?
I just think Roy Kent is a really tragic character. And I think I really...
Tragic?
I really understood it. It's like there's a tragedy to the physicality of aging, the tragedy of like his knees aren't working, and it's just very sad. Like there's nothing he can do about that, and he isn't ready to let that be the end. It's this kind of transition in his life of what do you do if the thing you love and the thing you've only known you now can't do, what the do you do? What we're always trying to do in Ted Lasso is take a character that you may initially not like and then make you like them by plotting their emotional journey and explaining why they are the way they are. And that's, I think, true of nearly all the characters. Even Ted arrives and you're like, at least the character's like, who's this idiot?
And what's the device behind that? Like, right, that when you first meet someone, you don't like them, and then you end up falling in love with them.
For me, certainly, when I am my best self, which is not often, but like that is true. That is the best way of living your life. I do believe if you ask the right questions, no one is boring or hateful or uninteresting. But you do have to ask the right questions.
Yeah.
I mean, this is your living.
Mm-hmm. How am I doing?
You're very good at it.
Okay, thank you.
You're doing very, very well.
So Ted Lasso was the antidote to what
Yeah.
was a coarsening of...
So Ted Lasso came on, and people, from what I understand, people were very moved by it and touched by it. I think that speaks more to the state of the world than it does to Ted Lasso. But seeing a show in which someone is decent and trying to improve and to help people and be collaborators felt revolutionary at the time.
Ted Lasso was sort of the cure for and an escape from what was happening out in the...
I think it was also just like a model of behavior that had been missing from public discourse for a while.
We spoke with writers and co-creators Brendan Hunt, Jason Sudeikis, and Joe Kelly about what Brett Goldstein is like out of character.
Roy is very gruff, very angry, and it's always jarring when you call Brett and he answers the phone. Hello? How are you? How are you, dear friend?
Yeah.
He's the sweetest, most gentle man.
Yeah.
Joe Kelly told us there is no one more opposite in life and then in the cast than you. Than Brett Goldstein.
That's funny.
And Roy Kent.
That's very funny.
That in person you're very sweet, you're soft-spoken, and Roy Kent is the opposite. Although you both cuss.
Who the is Joe Kelly? What does he know? I'm going to do him in when I get to work.
Stay with us, because when we come back, we go to a proper football match with members of the Ted Lasso cast.
To fully get the English Premier League experience, we went to London to watch a Saturday afternoon match with Brendan Hunt, Toheeb Jamo, and Kola Bokini.
What do you think is the genius of the show?
The genius of the show? Not Brendan. No, I think like for me anyway, like why I think a lot of people gravitated to it is because like it really just touches on something that we all have in us. Like it's really hard to like live in the Ted Lasso world. Like everybody seems like really open, especially when Ted comes and like encourages people to like break down their walls. And I feel like just in real life, especially like when the show came out, people just wanted to do that. Like things just seemed tough and bleak and everything was hard, and suddenly here comes the show that's like encouraging people to like push through that and to remain open and to remain loving.
If one of the themes of the show is fatherhood,
100%.
which we've talked about, Sam, your character, has a great relationship with his father.
Yeah, so many characters on our show don't have great relationships with their father. Like one of my favorite quotes is when, I want to paraphrase it, when Ted goes, I love meeting people's parents. It's like an instruction manual for why they're nuts. Like, which is like, it's that, isn't it? Like, it's like the root of the show. It's like every character you meet, especially the ones where you get to meet their parents, like you just like understand like what their trauma is, like where it's come from, do you know what I mean? How they're dealing with it, and like it really informs their outlook on the world.
You guys are a team.
Yeah.
Kind of,
Yeah.
right? You guys socialize a lot.
Oh my God, yeah, a lot. Like me and Colin were saying earlier, me and Colin are in like 6 different Ted Lasso related group chats at the moment.
I'm only in one.
Huh?
I'm only in one.
We can cut that, right?
What was with Isaac's challenge in season 2? Like, what happened? You kind of had a little mental.
Yeah, well, Brendan can touch on this, but I believe that like becoming a captain's a lot of stress, a lot of pressure. You know, just out of the blue like that. And Isaac had a big turnaround in season 1, you know, from being kind of a bully to kind of, you know, and Roy Kent's shoes is a big shoes to fill, so that's what I believe. I don't know, Brendan, maybe.
I mean, a captain is in football is particularly like important position, and more so than in American sports. Like you really have to be a certain kind of leader, and the Isaac story there. It's we have versions of the story throughout the show, like someone not seeing in themselves something that other people see. So he becomes a captain, never knowing or even aspiring to be one, really, and then he has to figure that out, and that's why he has the difficulty in season 2. He's new.
All right, he's gonna go.
Brendan Hunt had to leave us during the match, but we kept watching and chatting with Toheeb Jamo and Kola Bokini.
So how much do you love football?
You gonna answer that question? I live and breathe football.
You do?
Yeah.
Like this was definitely a dream job. And it was like, you're gonna pay me to run around and play football and be a footballer.
Exactly. Exactly.
Dream job.
Tell jokes while we do it.
Don't tell them that.
So like when we started the first season, I remember us being at the read-through and meeting each other for the first time. And I went up to Brett and I was like, oh man, like isn't this so cool? Like we just get to like play football. Like, I've been playing football since I was a kid. And Brett looks at me and he goes, yo, don't tell anyone. I haven't kicked a ball since I was 4 years old. like yeah, you'll be right. Oh!
So, how does the popularity of this show rank here in England versus the United States?
It's not as popular here as it is in America. And I didn't understand that until I went to America. And suddenly it was like if I walked outside and I took my mask off, like people would like, do you know what I mean, stop you in the street. So yeah, I'd say like even just on social media.
Here, like we get a lot of love, but social media, I've seen, behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people,
it's America heavy.
They be messing with the show.
It's definitely LA heavy. But I would say like since I came back, since after the second season, I was in South Africa for a bit and then I went to LA and then I came back and like that's when they're gonna score. I'm telling you, they're gonna score because it's your first game. But yeah, like that's when I started getting recognized in London for the first time, which is a bit like, it's weird in London because like we also have a culture of like, if I'm on the tube and you're on the tube, don't look at me, don't talk to me, I'm going to where I'm going, you're going to where you're going. Yeah. And suddenly you just run into Ted Lasso fans, which is like a welcome addition.
I'll be talking to my friends and saying some embarrassing stuff, like not realizing that the person next to me is like, will tap me afterwards and be like, oh, I really love you in the show. And I'll always be embarrassed. I'll be talking about some embarrassing stuff.
Yeah.
So, but it's great though, it's great.
We always say, like a cult-like following. You know, people become believers.
I
And
believe there's actually an Instagram and a Twitter cult of Lasso. There is one. I saw that the other day.
It's good. I think I like that because it felt like, I mean, we certainly didn't know that the show was gonna blow up in the way that it did. I mean, we hoped it would, but like that never felt like why we were doing it. And so when the first season came out and, you know, like when it just started, it felt like we had our own little like community, like our own little tiny Ted Lasso bubble. And it just like slowly grew and grew and grew and grew and grew.
as actors, have you gotten more attention now for your own career, for your own personal career?
Yeah, it's been great. Like it hasn't hurt us.
It's opened so many doors.
So I'm not gonna say like it's hurting. You know, it's good.
It doesn't hurt to be part of a show that everybody loves.
Yeah. Ooh, get off me.
Oh man, I really want them to score, brother.
What a fun afternoon. Well, Ted Lasso is currently in production for season 3, which is expected to stream on Apple TV Plus later this year. Thanks for watching Person to Person. I'm Norah O'Donnell.